Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2019 Tesla Model 3, we're going to be showing you how to install the Stealth Trailer Hitch Receiver. Before we get into that though, why don't you just take a minute, check this out, and make sure it's going to work for you. Just because you got an EV doesn't mean you can't equip it with a trailer hitch and use accessories and do all different types of things. So there are hitches available for it. And with the Stealth Hitch, one of the coolest parts, at least in my opinion, is the receiver tube is going to be detachable. That way when you're not using it, your car is going to look completely factory on the back. You're not even going to be able to see the trailer hitch. And I feel like that's really important on a vehicle like the Tesla. You know, they're kind of futuristic and really sleek, and if you could avoid having to have a hitch hanging back here, it's definitely the way to go, at least in my opinion. Whenever you are actually ready to use the hitcho, you're going to take a receiver tube and that's going to snap into the main body of the hitch, which is located underneath here. And it's, you know, not extremely easy by any means. It's simple how it works, kind of just lock it into place. But with this car riding so low, you know, you do have to kind of feel around for it and you know, get it to actually work up into position there. But that little bit of extra effort, in my opinion, is definitely worth it, being detachable and being able to be completely hidden. The receiver tube, when it is attached to everything, it is going to come out quite a ways, and that's a good thing. And that's because it's going to give you a ton of clearance for folding type accessories. You know, you're not going to have to worry about storing it upright and getting too close to the back of your Tesla. With that said, this particular setup here is only going to be rated to use accessories, bike racks and things along those lines. It's not rated to tow. But if you are planning on doing some towing, there's a whole package or kit available, if you will, that comes with this. It comes with a special ball mount that you can, you know, use with your trailer, as well as wiring too to power up all the lights. So that's something to check out if that's what you plan on doing. Or let's say for now you plan on using a bike rack or something like that and you're unsure if you're ever going to need a tow. You can get this one and you can always kind of build off of it. So in the future, if you do want to pull a trailer, you can always get those other components separately and add them on and allow you to get the job done. To compare this hitch to some of the other ones available for the Model 3, you know, they're all gonna work and get the job done, but to me I feel like it really is just gonna depend on how you plan on using it. So for example, if you're going to be using it all the time, every day, I could see this getting a little annoying from time to time with it coming out so far. And, you know, if you're using it a ton, are you really going to detach this every single day, more or less, when you're doing it? Occasionally, or if you're really, really concerned with the appearance, definitely the way to go. But like I said, if you're using it a lot, there's some fixed type ones available that don't detach. Granted, you always see the hitch back there. A lot of them don't look too bad, but you know, at least it'll be there ready to go whenever you need it. And matter of fact, we have another Model 3 here today that has a fixed type hitch. So why don't you just go over there, check it out, and give you a better idea. So this is a draw tight. This does have the smaller 1.25 inch by 1.25 inch. So this is a little bit, you know, smaller in size. So keep in mind, if you get the 2 inch by 2 inch bigger one, it is going to take up some more space and be a little bit more bulky. But just trying to give you an idea. As you can see, they're not going to come out quite as far and, you know, always be there ready to use. So just keep that in mind. With the Tesla being an EV, it rides super quiet, you know, and you're more prone to hear rattling and things like that. And some people could be worried about this clunking around whenever it's attached, and that's not the case at all. There's a little bit of movement there, but you're never going to hear that rattle or clunk or anything like that, so nothing to really sweat there. The receiver tube size is going to be a 2 inch by 2 inch, so it's going to work with a ton of different things. You can also grab these tubes separately in 1.25 inch by 1.25 inch. So if you have another or accessory already or something like that, that's an option. And it is going to use the standard 5/8 pin and clip. One doesn't come with the hitch. If you need one, not a big deal. Grab it here at eTrailer. And a lot of times, if you end up buying a new bike rack or something like that, they'll come with one. So just keep that in the back of your head as well. As far as the weight rating is concerned for this hitch, it's going to be quite a bit higher than some of the other ones available. It's going to have a 350-pound maximum gross tongue weight rating, which is going to be the amount of weight pushing down on the hitch. So you should be able to use, you know, those 1 to 4 bike racks and a lot of different types of cargo carriers. Just kind of give you an example. I'll go ahead, just grab a couple of measurements, and these will help us figure out, you know, what'll work best. You go from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening. That's going to be about 10 inches. So if it were me and if I was going to buy a new accessory, I'd probably try to find one that has a rise in the shank, just give you a little more ground clearance. And from the center of our hitch pin hole to the edge of our bumper, you know, the pinhole's actually going to come out past the bottom of the bumper there. And that's going to be about 1.5 inches. So like we talked about earlier, you shouldn't run into any clearance issues with those folding type accessories. But other than that, at the end of the day, you know, if you're looking for a hitch that is going to be able to detach when you're not using it and keep your Tesla looking factory, this is one you really can't go wrong with. As far as the installation is concerned, you know, don't let the Tesla name scare you. It's really not too bad. You are going to have to remove the rear fascia, but everything's pretty easy to get to, and nothing too complicated by any means. So as long as you take your time, stay focused, you should be in pretty good shape. But with that said, why don't we go ahead, pull into the garage, and get started on it now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here at the back of our Tesla, and you can open up your trunk lid, and we're going to need to get our tail lights removed. So first thing we're going to want to do is kind of just peel this panel back a little bit to get to the fasteners. So when you just peel this back, you'll be able to get to 2 8mm size nuts. So we'll grab our socket here and get them removed. If you look on the outside of your tail light, we're going to have this knob here. And sometimes you can get them by hand, other times they're too tight. If it is too tight, you can take a rag and just a pair of pliers like this. That way it'll give you some extra leverage to kind of help it break free. Well, we'll go ahead and get that pulled off. Should be able to remove our light now, so I'm just kind of working it back and forth. Sometimes you can get it to pop right out, but there are some alignment tabs in here that kind of hang it up sometimes, so you might have to take a plastic trim tool, just kind of help pop behind there to get it removed. And looks like our taillight connector actually just came undone, but what you normally would have to do is just push down on that center tab and separate it from the taillight there. So with this one removed, we'll set it off to the side, do the same thing on the other side, and from this point on, actually anything we do to one side of the vehicle, we'll repeat on the other side because it'll be set up the same way. If you look right here, there's going to be a single fastener, so we'll pull that out using a 10mm. Now you can move to your rear wheel well liner. So this is along the back edge of the car. On the bottom edge, there's going to be 2 push pin fasteners just like this. So you have one here in the corner and then another one exactly like it, just further in. It's a little tricky to see, but it is there. And to get these removed, you can take a smaller flathead screwdriver and kind of pry underneath the head of it. And you're able to pull the whole thing out. What you're able to do now is take your wheel well liner and kind of just peel that back, and that'll allow us to get to a T20 Torx bit screw, which is located right here. Moving underneath of our vehicle, along the back edge here on the bottom, you're going to have a cover here, and you can just carefully pry that open, and that's going to expose a 10mm bolt under there. Get Continuing on our underbody panel, we're gonna have a handful more fasteners. Again, these will be a 10mm size head. Just kind of work our way along here and get them removed. Moving back to our wheel wells where we took out those 2 Pushman fasteners, I actually found a third one buried in the corner here, so be sure to come back and pop that out as well. Now with an extra set of hands, we can actually get our fascia removed. I did put some painter's tape along the seams here where we're going to be working, that way we don't accidentally scratch anything. But you want to start at the corner and you kind of just carefully pop out. A little unsnap. I will say be careful with this because you're gonna have to kind of pull down a little bit, that little piece of metal there where our screw was. And if you just rip it right out, you might scratch that paint. So just keep that in mind. We're gonna work all the way up. And once you get each side to about here, it should come off very easily. And you might have a connector. In our case, we do. We'll get that disconnected. Can kind of push back on that gray tab. I'm actually just going to pop it off from our trim there. You should be able to push down on the middle of it and get it separated. Sometimes these are really tight. And you're just going to have to kind of work it out. May also help too if you take a small screwdriver or pick. Kind of get after it like that. Might help loosen it up some. So with that released, we can now set our bumper off to the side. We're gonna remove our bumper beam. So on each side of the vehicle, there's 3 15mm head nuts. And I already got the other side removed. Be careful not to lose this hardware either. I usually find you can kind of just, break them free like that and then kind of dump them out once you pull this guy off. We're able to remove this piece now, this plastic piece. They say you can put some, marks on this and the body and the head of the bolt just to make sure it realigns perfectly. I've never had any issues with it, but not bad practice to do. But this is going to be held in place with a handful of 10mm head bolts. Really straightforward. Just continue to work our way down until they're all removed. And we're not going to actually disconnect the wiring or anything with this. We should be able to just kind of set it halfway in the trunk for now to give us that space that we need. We need to remove these bumper plates, I guess you would call them, from each side of our vehicle. So we have 4 15mm head nuts. This will just slide right off. We're able to take the plastic type washers that they give you, and you're going to put these on or over all the studs. Do that on each side. And then you can grab the main body of our hitch here. And the way this is going to work, just going to slide right on top of them, and then the studs just on the furthest point or furthest outside point of our vehicle, you're going to take the factory nuts that you removed and get them started hand tight. we can get our hitch centered because there is a little bit of side-to-side movement. So I'm just going to kind of split the difference, and then we can snug this hardware down using our 15. Need to come back with a torque wrench and tighten down the hardware to the amount specified in the instructions. We're able to mount up these metal brackets to our bumper beam now, and you want this positioned correctly. So for example, this is on, I'm behind it as if I'm looking at the back of the car. This will be on the passenger side. So the thicker part of the metal bumper beam will be at the top. And these brackets, you're going to see it has a little notch in it there. You want that to be facing upward as well. But what you're going to do is take the included hardware, which is a bolt and a flat washer. And I like to do these one at a time. You'll do that, and then take this nylon washer, put that behind it, and line that up. And this is kind of a pain, I'm not gonna lie. I'll take a flange nut and get that started. Sometimes I have found it makes it easier if you take a socket. It's a 15 millimeter and an extension. Kind of gives you, a little more to work with there. And we're just going to get this started hand tight, and I'm going to do the same exact thing and use the same exact hardware for the remaining holes there. Once you get both brackets on, these are going to go over the existing studs there, and then you can take the original hardware and get them started hand tight. That way everything will kind of support itself. You're going to want to make sure that the black brackets that we put on are, straight and pushed out as far as possible to the outside of the vehicle, and hold it in position, snug them down with your 15. Before you tighten down the bumper beam, make sure it's centered, and if you're unsure, you can always measure from a constant point, so say from here to the edge of the hitch, and make sure it's the same on each side. So I verified that, and what we'll do now, come back with our 15 and snug up all the hardware in the bumper beam. And now we can come back and torque down the remainder of our hardware. Go ahead and grab our block here, and this is going to line up with the holes in our hitch. You want this handle portion to be on the passenger side. So we'll slide that into place and take the big bolts that come with it. Again, you want the heads of the bolts to be on the passenger side. Just slide it all the way through. And on the other side where they come out, you can take your nylon lock nuts and get them started. We'll come back with a 15/16 size socket and wrench. Does help if you have a swivel too, if you're using a tool like this, because you don't have a ton of space with the hitch here, but come back and tighten these down. Once those are snug, you also want to come back with your torque wrench and get these properly tightened as well. So I went ahead and re-secured this black piece here that we removed earlier. Same way that we removed it, just lined it back up and tighten the bolts down. And at this point, if you're installing the towing version or the towing kit that comes with the trailer wiring, you would start to work on that. We don't have that kit, so it's just the hitch. So we'll just continue to move forward and get everything back together. Moving over here to our fascia on the bottom side of it, a lot of the Teslas that I've seen are gonna have this little panel here that you can remove. And if it does, great, we'll pull it out. All it is a couple little quarter turn fasteners there. And it kind of just pops out and out of the way. If yours does not have this, you will have to trim out an opening. There's a diagram and the instructions that you can follow. And with this being somewhat thick plastic, my advice would be to use some type of Dremel tool or some type of powered saw if you got one to create that opening. Now with an extra set of hands, we can simply get our fascia back in place. Don't forget to plug in any of those electrical connectors if you removed any. And we're just gonna work our way around here and make sure everything's lined up and get it snapped back in. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Stealth Trailer Hitch Receiver on our 2019 Tesla Model 3.